Everybody.
Hello.
Awesome. Thanks so much for being here. Good to see a lot of familiar names and faces. Great. So good morning, STEM course students. We're so excited to have you here for our first session of the spring semester, or of the 2023 or school semester. Of our internship development series, and just overall work with our students to really make sure that you all are feeling good, not just academically speaking, but like as like whole people and as whole students. So quick introduction, for those of you who do not know me, my name is Cheryl Martinez. I am the STEM program manager with Growth Sector. Growth Sector is a national nonprofit based out of San Francisco, but we are the backbone organization that works really closely with your STEM core program, with your support specialists, with your faculty, to be able to help to implement the STEM core program on your campus. So whether you're called STEM core, OMG, Bridge to Engineering, STEM core is sort of like the overarching name that we give the program. So if you're not familiar with the name STEM core, same program, so just know that you're in the right place. So we're super excited today because obviously you all have seen the flyer of some of the events that we have going on during the remainder of the semester, but we are really trying to be intentional with being able to kick off the semester in a really intentional way by being able to talk about just overall mental health, and make sure that all of you are sort of like refocusing your mindset before we delve into a very packed and busy semester, as I'm sure a lot of you are already feeling. So super excited because we have our guest host today, Lorene Fisher, who's going to be able to just really take us through this workshop this morning. And we're excited for the opportunity to be able to connect and delve further into this topic. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Lorene to get us started.
Awesome. Thank you, Cheryl. Hello. I love seeing some faces, lots of names here. This is exciting. I first want to know who I'm with. So I know there's some folks that are here individually just from their own computers tuning in, and there's also some groups I'm hearing. So if we could pop in the chat really quick, where are you tuning in from? Let me know where you're coming from so we can see how far out we are spread today. As you're typing that, I'm coming to y'all from the Bay Area right now. I'm in Cupertino. So for me, it's all sunny outside. Thank goodness. We had so much rain and flooding recently. Oh yeah, okay, Winston-Salem, FTCC, yeah, New Mexico, California, North Carolina, Maryland, okay. Garden Grove, North Carolina, lots of North Carolina, at home in Bay Area, all right. Mission College, Santa Clara area. Okay, so I'm close to some folks. That's nice. We might need to do a coffee chat later, right? Get some of those in. This is exciting. Okay, so lots of California and North Carolina with a spatter of some others. That's exciting. New Mexico again. Okay, great. Thank you all for joining this morning. I'm really excited. As Cheryl mentioned to y'all, mental health and figuring out how to manage your stress is so incredibly important as you're going through some big transitions. Making these internships and jobs happen, as well as everything else you have going on in your life, is hard. I just want to start with that. That is my first affirmation to you, is this is not supposed to be easy. It is not meant to be easy. This is a challenging season of your life. So it's more so, how do we figure out how to cope with the stress and ease some of it away so we can move from stress to ease as we move into those future goals? You're still going to be working hard, but let's do it with a little less stress, a little less, I'll say depression for those who may experience that, a little less loneliness as we go through it. And we'll be doing some strategies today to help you with that, but also having some time just to open up and talk about it. So with that, I'm going to share my screen. Let's get this going. All right, hopefully y'all can see it here. At any point in time, you are welcome to add comments or questions to the chat, and we'll have moments where we can pause and check in with each other to check those as well. So managing stress and mental health, let's get into it. A little bit about me. I'm Lorene Fisher, as y'all said. Some folks call me Lolo. I'm good with either way. I really love helping people move from stress to ease. So this is how we think about the hustle and bustle of life and being in survival mode into a place of thriving. Yes, I'm working hard and it's worth it, and I feel happy about it. I want to get you to that place of happiness and thriving. So for me, that background comes from trauma-informed care, yoga, meditation, breath work. And then of course, I was in the education system too. While I didn't focus on STEM necessarily, I was a dance and business major first, and then got my second major in higher education. So I really just fell in love with figuring out how to help people in a variety of ways, but particularly first-gen students in college, which I think a lot of y'all can relate with. So that's what brought me here. What we'll do today, we're actually going to start with a little bit of mindfulness exercises, checking in, and then we'll actually get to the dialogue part. So first and foremost, even if you have to leave early, I'm hoping you can get some of this groundedness, the grounding exercises to start so you can leave feeling better. And then I always love finishing with some sort of take-home activity, which today is going to be creating your self-care menu. So we're going to get into it right away. I see some cameras on, some off, totally up to you what you would prefer. We're going to start with grounding exercises. I'm going to tell you all three, but we'll just practice one all together. So some of these you can do on your own at home. So the first one is 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 senses. When we want to get grounded, and I want you to think about this in the sense of if you are feeling like it's just hard to feel stable or secure, your mind is going a million places, it feels overwhelming, how many things are on your to-do list, a grounding exercise would be something to turn to. And this first one is really just activating all of your senses so that you can get out of the feeling of being tapped into everywhere and into the present moment, in touch with your body physically. So we're going to actually do that one together. The others I want to tell you about are feeling the floor and washing hands. And these are some that you can even do while taking a test. And that's why I love these ones so much, because they're also really good if you have test anxiety. Feeling the floor, as you see this little image of the little kid here stomping in the mud, is about that physical sensation as well, but you don't necessarily have to splash in mud to do it. If you are home, for example, doing a virtual class, studying at home, maybe even in the library, although if you got some smelly feet, I would not recommend taking your shoes off in the library. But the idea of this is to take your shoes off, get grounded with your feet, and touch the floor. As simple as that, but actually doing it with awareness and an activation of the muscles and feelings in your feet. So the biggest experience of grounding would be stomping around like this little kid in the mud, actually feeling the floor, stomping it out, because it's also a release of energy. If you're feeling that overwhelming energy, stomp it out until it starts calming down. You will actually feel your nervous system calm down as you do that, and slow down if you're stomping around. But if you're in a test, in a public space, or maybe just at home studying, as simple as taking your shoes off, maybe wiggling your toes and rippling through the feet to feel the ground, that will help you remind yourself to be grounded. The other one is washing hands. You can literally wash your hands if you want, because there are studies showing that the sensation of water on our skin is something that can be calming and grounding for folks. It's a little different from person to person, but if you actually take the time when you're washing hands, not to just be like, oh, I gotta go necessarily, but hey, I'm gonna take a second. I'm gonna wash my hands slow. They say sing the happy birthday song, right? You could sing your favorite song in your head and just take your time washing your hands. Notice what it feels like with the soap and water on your hands. Those little bits of awareness turned a simple gesture of washing your hands into mindfulness and a meditation practice, essentially. But you can do this one without the soap and water. And that's why I was saying it's a great tool for test anxiety. Drop the pen for a second. If you're on your laptop, pause, take fingers away, and just take 2 seconds to do the physical practice of washing your hands, moving through the hands. They call this a self-soothing technique, because if you actually think of some of the pressure points in your hands as you massage and work through the hands in that washing hands motion, it'll start relieving some of the tension that you're feeling in your hands. Literally, we tend to hold on or clamp up here if we have that stress going on in our mind, but also dropping shoulders away as you do it, because you're not going to wash your hands like this, right? This sounds more like an evil villain. If you can see me, this looks like an evil villain, like getting ready to do something. We drop the shoulders, wash our hands, take a breath, go back to work, whatever that's going to look like. Maybe if you're a chemist, you're like pouring things, I don't know. But taking a moment to wash your hands can really just relieve the mind. So that's our grounding exercise, our 3 grounding exercises that I would recommend if you're feeling a little overwhelmed and just need to get more in place. We're going to do the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 senses together right now so you can get a little feel for it. This is the one that I would say is a little longer. Feeling the floor, quick. Washing hands, quick, or as quick as you want it to be. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 is still quick, but it's a nice one to take our time with. And it's really a meditation practice. So wherever you're at, wherever you're tuning in from, I want to invite you to like really get comfortable in the space that you're in. If you're sitting down, maybe, sit up a little taller, roll the shoulders back, really get grounded in your seat if that feels good. If you're laying down, you could even lay down and do this one, absolutely. And again, camera on, camera off, totally up to you. I'm not watching your face as you respond to this, don't worry. This one is just about getting into our senses and what it actually feels like. So when you're ready, start by taking a deep breath and exhale, sigh it all out. Don't be afraid to hear your breath. One more big inhale. And just let it go. As you find that seated or lying position, just resting comfortably wherever you're at, we're focused on being present. Letting the stress or thoughts of whatever happened before this moment go away. Anything that's coming next, it can wait. We're dedicating this time right here, right now, to getting in touch with yourself in this present moment. Looking around the room you're in, I want you to notice 5 things you can see. Be specific, not just, oh, there's a door, but there's a silver handle on that door. There is a red cap on that pen. 5 things you can see. Note it to yourself. Right. From those 5 things we can see, we're going to go to 4. 4 things you can feel. We're thinking sensory touch. Maybe it's the feeling of your shirt or sweatshirt on your body. Maybe it's the pen you're holding in your hand. Maybe it's the breeze if you have an AC on, or warmth if you have a heater on. 4 things you can feel. Be very specific. All right. Now I know some of you are alone. Some of you are in rooms with other folks or around other people. So this one will be varied, but the next one is 3 things you can hear. 3 things you can hear. Even if it's just the faint humming of a fridge or of an AC. A bird outside. My voice. 3 things you can hear. Moving into 2 and 1. 2 things that you can taste. 2 things you can taste. This one's a little challenging sometimes, especially if you're not particularly drinking water, drinking coffee in front of you. And 1 thing you can smell. 2 things you can taste. Take a sip of my coffee. You can be intentional about it if you want. And 1 thing you can smell. Taking 1 more deep breath to get in touch with all of those senses that you just experienced. And exhaling to let go of any overwhelming thoughts, tense feelings. Awesome. That is our 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 sensory activity to really get present and mindful in the moment. Something that can take 5 minutes or less, that you can do at any point in time, really. Now, here's how I know how present we actually were. We're going to open up the chat. So for those who have the ability to type in the chat, we're going to go ahead and bring that up. And for the folks that are in the room, you know, we can just call on folks and type it in. That works if able. But I want you to write down one thing that you saw. One thing that you saw without pointing out something new. Do you remember what one of those 5 things you pointed out was? Type it in the chat. A red medical kit, okay. Phone, okay. Yeah, glass, blue masking tape, number 221. Yes, I love these. I love the specificity that's happening here. Good. Notebook, clock. Yeah, AirPods. Good. Blue trunk. Book. Yeah, I love it. Keep it coming if you're still typing. Absolutely. I love these things. So this is another practice. Although I'm saying here's a way to check how present you were. This is something you can do for yourself too. Do the activity. 10 minutes later, set a little timer for yourself and say, do I remember what one of those things was? Or do I remember what I smelled? And notice if that sensory experience is still there. If it's still there, that means you're still moving in presence with whatever activity you're doing. If it's not, it means you might be flowing in and out of that present moment, which is not a good or bad thing. It's just a way for you to interact with the world around you and with yourself and get back in touch with whatever you're focusing on. So if you are working on a project, if you're working on homework, if you're getting ready for an interview, for an internship, or for a job, practicing an activity like this can help make sure that you're present for the next 20 minutes after, because you stay continuing to check in with those senses and notice what it feels like for you. So thanks y'all for those responses, for adding in here. We're going to keep going because grounding exercises is just for one area of stress. Like I said, that's if you're overwhelmed and feeling all over the place, but we know stress can feel like a lot of different things. So our next one is about calming. So this one is more if we feel that anxious energy. I know I feel this one a lot. I get really anxious to the point where I'm like jittery with my fingers. I'm not allowed to drink coffee at a certain point for myself. Like I've had to put a stop on it because I would get so jittery about things. So when you need to find an area of calm within yourself, this is really about slowing down the heart rate and slowing down the nervous system on the science side. I'm sure a lot of y'all could teach me about our nervous system and how that works for us. These 3 techniques are ones that I worked on. I really incorporate them in almost all of my yoga classes because I focus on restorative and hatha yoga, which is really about body awareness, slowing down the nervous system, and getting in touch with that calm, peaceful side. You have it. If you're wondering, if you're like, I don't feel calm often, you have it. We just have to tap into it and be really intentional about it. So breathing or breath work is one of the best ways to do it. Box breathing is what we're going to do today. I'll also kind of demonstrate a 4-7-8 breathing for you. But this last piece is what I actually want to start with. And it's a self-havening or self-care hug, sometimes we'll call it. And it's a simple motion. If you are somebody who is kinesthetic and you're feeling like jittery, like I was talking about, where your actual nerve endings are starting to feel those tingles, the self-havening hug or self-soothing method can be really helpful. And it's the simple practice of giving yourself a hug, but with motion. So we would start at the top of our shoulders and just move down, hands brushing down to the elbows, shoulders to elbows. Now, when you're really anxious or feeling high energy levels that you want to calm down, it may feel like this. It's being intentional about going slow. You decide how slow though. This is where you get to learn your body best. So if I say naturally, I'm feeling really energized, but I need to calm down for this next thing that's coming. Here's where my breathing pattern is. Here's what I'm feeling. Okay, let's see if I can cut that in half. Let's count to 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, that's a good pace for me. Maybe for you, that's like, I need to go slower. I really need to calm down. Maybe it's before bed and you can't sleep. Count slower. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. However long you want to count, that's what you get to determine. But that practice of both the counting, which brings you more presence, And the feeling, the kinesthetic feeling, is where the havening and the soothing comes from. So there's so many studies. I need to bring some statistics for y'all soon, but there's so many studies that say just the element of physical touch can help. And usually we seek that physical touch in somebody else, from getting a hug from somebody or just sitting close and being present with somebody. And if you have that ability and that's something that you enjoy, that's great. But we don't always have that. So in those seasons where you are sitting alone doing some work or alone in bed and you just need some of that comfort of physical touch, giving it to yourself is one of the best practices you can do, and just starting slow, counting down from shoulder to elbows. So that's that quick one that you can do. You can do it anywhere, anytime, of course. I won't judge you, that's for sure. But especially when you're alone, this is a great way to just comfort yourself and remind yourself that although you're alone temporarily, you are never alone in the big scheme of things. It's that self-soothing hug. Let's get into the breathing. We're going to go for the box breathing right away and go ahead and give it a try. So I like this picture for us too to illustrate, because it's literally the idea of tracing a box. So if you are visual, I'm going to be using my hands. You can do the hands with me if you like. If you are more auditory and just want to listen to my guidance, you are welcome to close your eyes and just get comfortable and follow along with listening. But our box breathing method is about equal breathing. So we're bringing some equanimity to how we shape the box. This is not exactly a square box in the picture, but we're going to imagine we have a very square box in front of us. We're going to inhale as we trace up the box, hold the breath as we trace the top of the box, exhale as we trace down, hold the breath as we trace the bottom. So inhale up, hold, exhale down, hold. It's a 4-count breathing pattern. So I'm going to be counting to 4 as we inhale, holding for 4, exhaling for 4, holding for 4. Now, before we actually try this together, one little caveat. When you hold your breath, I don't want you to hold it like you're underwater. If you tighten everything up and hold your breath, that's not going to calm your nervous system. I want you to think of that hold more as a pause. Once you inhale, that air is in your body. It's in the throat, maybe it went all the way to your chest or to your diaphragm. That depends on how deep of a breath you took. We're just pausing. That air stays in the body. We're not letting it out. We're not bringing any more in. We're just keeping it there so that when we exhale, we let it out. And same idea for those 4 holds at the end or the bottom of the box we're tracing. We're not squeezing to hold the breath. We're just pausing. I'm not bringing any more air in. Maybe if there's a little ounce of air left, I'm just getting the rest of it out so that I can start fresh on the inhale. So let's give this one a try. 4, 4, 4, 4. I will guide you through it. And we're going to do it 4 times to see how it feels for us. Starting with an exhale so we can start fresh. Together we inhale for 4, 3, 2, 1, pausing, 4, 3, 2, 1, slow exhale, 4, 3, 2, 1, pausing, 4, 3, last bit's out, 2, 1. Again, we inhale. And pause. We exhale. And pause. Getting last air out. Inhaling, 4, 3, 2, 1, holding, 4, 3, 2, 1, exhaling, 4, 3, 2, 1, holding, 4, 3, 2, here's our last one, big inhale. Hold it. Big exhale. And hold it. Awesome. Returning to your natural breath. Let it come naturally without forcing it. Checking in with the body. All right, I'm going to invite us to come back to the chat box, or if you would like to speak openly, because I know there's some rooms as well, also welcome. I just want to check in how that one felt for you. Was this box breathing new for you? Have you done it before? And what does it feel like now that you've actually practiced it? Let me know, chat box, or you're welcome to just unmute yourself and share.
I've done something similar before, but I think I may have cheated. It's harder for me to count and hold my breath myself versus hearing somebody else do it for me, because I was like, oh my goodness, this is only 4. I do 4 all the time. Why can't I hold my breath?
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing. It is hard to count for yourself sometimes. I know, even though I guide meditation and guide breath work all the time, when I need it for myself, oftentimes I'll find a quick YouTube video or play something on Spotify. I had the Calm app for a while because it's nice to be guided with it sometimes. So you're not thinking and breathing at the same time. So I totally understand that. I'm hoping this one like helped the practice of holding a little bit more. Thanks. Yeah, it was relaxing, relaxed. Okay. New method to do it, felt better after. I'm so glad. Thanks, Diego. New but refreshing. Thanks, Kamaya. Awesome. Well, I'm glad for those that it helped relax a little bit. I really hope that this is something you can continue to incorporate. Sometimes folks set a timer. So rather than saying I'm doing this 4 times, just set a 1-minute timer and continue it on for a minute. That like gives you that slotted break in whatever you're doing to actually focus on it. Let's talk about the 4-7-8 breathing, because it's so similar with just a little bit of an adjustment. You'll notice with the box, we had an inhale, a hold, an exhale, a hold. With 4-7-8, we only have 3 phases of this breathwork practice. So it is an inhale, hold, exhale, inhale right away again. If you notice the 4, the inhale is so much quicker than the hold or the exhale. And that's because when our nervous system actually slows down, when the heart rate slows, it comes from our hold and our exhale, not the inhale. If you have ever seen somebody hyperventilating, you'll notice there's a lot of inhale happening, but not enough exhale happening to really release and soothe the nervous system. So the reason the inhale is shorter is because usually you already have almost a vacuum within your throat, within your diaphragm, depending on where you're breathing from, within your lungs, there is air being held. You breathe naturally without even thinking about it a lot of days, but we're not so intentional with the exhale. The 7 and the 8, these 2 longer numbers are very challenging if you have not been practicing breath work or if this is something completely new. But the idea, just for me to demonstrate, would be an inhale quickly. Exhale slowly. We're not going to do a full practice of this, but now that I showed you, I want you to try just one with me. Just one, and notice if it's easy, if it's hard, or what parts of it might be challenging, if anything. Start with an exhale, let it go. Quick inhale. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Exhale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All right. I'll tell you what I experienced the first few times of doing this. The exhale is so hard to keep going. I'm like, there's no more air in me. Where does it go? Like I already exhaled it out. The art of slowing down your breath is truly that. It's an art and it's a skill that you have to build. There's a few ways you can do it right away. When I tell you to start, like get the air out, it's usually a sigh. Just letting it go, a big open mouth sigh. When we want to slow down the breath, it's almost scientific. You have to think of ways that you can engineer your mouth and your diaphragm, your throat, wherever you're holding that air to move slower. So one way of doing that is blowing the candles, as if you're going to blow a birthday candle out, right? We purse the lips, we make it smaller opening to blow slower. So blowing out that candle is one way. Another way is what I call the smiling exhale. It may look a little silly, but if you think of breathing out the teeth as if you're smiling, it almost makes the sound of like an ocean wave, like right when that tide's coming in, there's those little ripples. That sound, smiling or breathing through the teeth, is going to help you also slow it down. Those are just a few methods, but you can find your own way of starting to breathe slower. I've heard some people say that they use the 8 as a whistle. I've never been able to whistle in my life, but if you can whistle, you can whistle it out, and that's still a way of exhaling. So you can kind of play with that one and see what it does. But once that box breathing method, the 4-4-4-4, gets super easy for you, I would recommend giving a try for the 4-7-8, because it's even better and more nourishing for your diaphragm and nervous system when you want to calm down. So these are 3 techniques you can use, breathwork specific or self-havening, that brush down from shoulders to elbows, that can help you find a sense of calm when the stress you're feeling is more on the anxious or energetic side. The last category we'll talk about today is almost the opposite. If you're feeling really sluggish and tired and just like not wanting to do anything, but you got things to do, there are also techniques to create more warmth within your body naturally, so that you want to get more energized. Some movement activities that'll help you move into an energetic flow naturally, instead of relying on energy drinks and coffee and so on and so on. So there is the breath of fire, twisting motions in general when it comes to movement, and stretching in opposition. The breath of fire is not actually a cat breathing like this. It is a breathwork technique that involves speed. So we were just talking about slowing down exhales. That's our way of calming. So we almost do the exact opposite when we want to energize. So if you're really feeling sluggish and like almost like you're falling asleep, trying to find some nourishment from the fatigue that you're feeling, the breath of fire is one of the best ways of doing it. And it's almost forcing a hyperventilation. I don't actually want you to hyperventilate, let me be clear, but it's focusing on quick inhales instead of the slow exhales we just talked about. So again, it just depends on what your body's response to stress is and what you need. The breath of fire has different patterns. So like if you're gonna look it up, there's guided videos on YouTube. For sure. I actually think I have one recorded that I'll be putting out soon that I'd be happy to share with y'all too. But there's different paces of it. So I prefer the 2 count when I need some energy. And it's really just an inhale of 2, exhale of 2, inhale of 2, exhale of 2. If you have a song you really like that's fast paced, you can do this one to music. And not only does that give you a little bit of an auditory boost in terms of connecting with your senses, but it gives you a pace so that, for my friend who said you don't always like counting yourself, it gives you a pace so that you don't actually have to count it. You can just go to the rhythm of the music or the beat that you're feeling. I'm going to show you an example. We're not going to practice this one together necessarily, but if you want to try it on your own, absolutely go for it. But not everybody needs a breath of fire. If you're feeling really anxious, this is not the one to do. But if you want to boost your energy, it's a great one to do. So I would exhale like I did before. And then now I'm gonna move this down just a little bit, because there's a motion happening in my rib cage that actually starts that energy. Rather than thinking lifting the chest down, like I don't want to crump it out when I'm doing this, although crumping might be good for some energetic movement as well. But I want to think of expanding my rib cage out and in, out and in. So watching this time. As I move my ribcage open and close, my diaphragm is reacting in a way that literally starts warming up my core, like I'm sweating in this moment just from that few bits of breath that's happening. But it's a great way to activate your system in the opposite way of what does our calming method, to get us out of that sluggishness, out of the pits that we're feeling when we just don't want to get up and start moving quicker. Now, right after you do a breath of fire, if you are going to practice this one, drink water, because it starts activating your organs like quite literally, your digestive system starts moving, your blood flow is circulating because you're quickening your breath, everything starts moving a little quicker. So also that's going to mean that things are working faster for you internally, organ-wise. So you need to drink water to continue that energy building. Otherwise, it's going to drain you pretty quickly. So it's just finding that balance for your body as well. Now, some of the ones we're actually going to try together: twisting motions and stretching in opposition. If you want to stand up, you can do that easily, but we can even do this from seated. And that's one of the things I love. So if you just like need a moment and you're like, oh, like I'm feeling tense, maybe I've been getting the tech neck, you know, we start leaning our chin in, leaning our head in, and we're like, okay, let me relax my shoulders a little bit, stretched out. Twisting and stretching in opposition are great ways to do this. Any twisting motions help. Like literally you can just kind of helicopter it out and turn side to side if you want. But we're gonna do one that's actually gonna release a little bit of tension in our traps, neck, and shoulders. So let me pull my sleeves up so we can do this. This one's called eagle arms. And while it may seem a little complicated at first, I'm gonna walk with you step by step so you can actually get a good feeling for this one. So eagle arms, you can extend both arms out, and we're going to extend them in front of us. Connect one arm on the bottom, one arm on top. So I'm literally connecting at my elbow pits as much as I can. Now, just depending on where your chest is, it may not cross right in front. Sometimes we have to go a little higher, closer to the chin. So wherever that is, get as close as you can. Doesn't have to get there, but the idea is getting as close as you can to the elbow and elbow pit connecting. From there, bend the arms towards you like you're going to touch your face. And back of the hands are working together, back of the hands. If the back of your hands touch, then you can go even further. The arm that's on the bottom is going to come towards your face and then wrap around palm to palm. Wrap around palm to palm. These are eagle arms. Now, it just depends on where you are. If you are feeling really tight in your shoulder blades and trap area, this is going to be a hard one to even connect. So just focus on getting back of the hand to back of the hand. If you're like, okay, I'm doing pretty well with it, I'm able to get back of hands together, that's when you go into palms. And if that's not enough or you want more, then you just start adding motion, lifting the elbows and dropping, lifting the elbows and dropping. And I know I feel it, especially when I pull those elbows down. I feel it right in here, that connection between my neck and my trapezius is like, oh, it's amazing. It's amazing. Such a good one. Now, if you gave that a try with me, go ahead and try it on the other side. So switch arms so that we can actually find that evenness from elbow pits. We work back of the hands towards one another. If you've gotten back of the hands together, the arm that's on the bottom comes towards your face and wraps around palm to palm. These are called eagle arms. There's eagle legs as well, I'll tell you that, but it's a little complicated and tough to balance the arms and the legs at the same time. Give it a try if there are any fellow yogis out there or folks who like to practice yoga. It's a really fun one to try to test your balance. Shake it out, roll those shoulders out once you're done. See if you can loosen some things up a bit more. Okay, stretching in opposition is exactly like it sounds. It's literally just thinking about how whatever body parts you choose can stretch in opposite directions. So if that's your hands, that's literally how far can I stretch my hands in the opposite directions, creating a big T or like you're going to give someone a giant hug. That could also be simply standing up. If you are standing up and you think of the groundedness of your feet, I'm pressing my feet deep into the ground, and then opposite, I'm reaching my head as tall as I can. So it's going to force me, if I'm thinking about that opposition, to lengthen my spine, to drop my shoulders, and to press down into the ground. That activation of your muscles and stretching in opposite directions adds an element of energetic flow for your blood specifically, but also your muscle activation that sends those signs neurologically to your brain to say, I need some energy, I'm going to get moving, I'm going to get going. So it's really just connecting the physical to the mental and making sure we bring those together for whatever season or feelings of stress we have. So in this case, this whole third category was about how we warm up internally using our breath and movement to get ourselves that natural energy that our body might be craving. Of course, we had those other two categories of calming down or grounding as well. So it just depends on what you need, which is kind of where I want to check in now. I'm going to pause my sharing for a second. Because of these three categories, I want to know, what do you feel most in terms of the stress and the kinds of support you need. Do you feel that overwhelming feeling, or where you don't feel grounded and you need groundedness? Is it that second category of more anxious and energetic feeling and you want to calm, or the third category of really feeling sluggish and needing energy? You could say 1, 2, or 3. You could say a mix of all. What exercises or what category that we worked on today do you feel like you need or feel most? Oh, eagle arms for the person who asked. Eagle arms or evil arms? Eagle as in the bird. And yes, absolutely. Go ahead and unmute. What's the question?
Hi, my name is Brittany Miller Fields. I just had a quick question in terms of some of the techniques that you went over. I have narcolepsy, so I happen to just kind of pass out at random intervals. However, I noticed before that happens that there's always a decrease in my energy levels right before I'm like completely gone. So of the three, which one would you recommend the most for being able to catch that? Because it happens very, very often and I'm unable to stop anything from happening. And I just fall asleep for 2-3 minutes at a time and then wake back up.
Yeah. So thank you so much for asking, Britnam. So, with narcolepsy, this is not something I can medically advise necessarily, but what I have experienced with some of the folks I've worked with is that they can sustain the energy a little bit longer, although that crash and sleeping moment will still come. So part of it, medically, is that you can't always stop the sleepy moments from happening. But if you just need a little bit more time to hang on, the breath of fire would probably be the quickest of those three to actually activating your system and helping that happen. But the other piece I would say is nutrition. So depending on your dietary needs and restrictions, if you can get citrus or some sort of acidic fruit in your body in that moment that you start feeling the crash, it can give you a little extra boost and momentum, usually to stay awake for like 15 to 20 minutes longer if you need it, if you need to get to a place so that you can have that moment to sleep, things like that. But otherwise, I would say medically, I don't know what would stop the sleep from happening. I just know how to sustain it a little longer for that energy moment. I hope that helps.
Absolutely. Sustaining is probably the first thing that I'd want to work on anyway. So thank you so much.
Awesome. Thanks for asking. Okay. Yeah, I see in the chat, stretches and deep breathing activities. I need them all, but usually breathing for overwhelming. Absolutely. Different days, different seasons. We feel all the things. All right. Anybody else? Questions, comments to share as we keep going on just what these experiences have been like, or which category would serve you best? Definitely need the energy one. Of course, happy to share them. Stretching. All right, awesome. And I know many of you, I should say, have interviews coming up for internships, or maybe you've already started, things like that. So those are also things you can think about if you're feeling sluggish right before a big moment that you're about to have. That energy can be something very quick as a pick-me-up right before, so that you can put an enthusiasm into your interviews and make sure that conveys to the folks that you're working with, or vice versa. If the nerves are just going, use one of those calming techniques 5 minutes before you log in, just to really get present and focus. So let's go back real quick. I'm gonna share my screen again. All right. So a quote that I actually shared with our student support specialists as well. So some of the staff on the call might remember this one. A person can be like a thermometer or a thermostat. A thermometer will tell you what the temperature is, but a thermostat will not only tell you what the temperature is, but it'll move you to the temperature you need to get to. So this is a quote from Kevin McCarthy, and my challenge to y'all based on this quote is to be a thermostat in your own life. So there's a lot of things that can, I won't say cause, but be sources of stress for us, sources of the sluggishness we're feeling, the anxiety we're feeling, the depression we're feeling, just the overwhelmed things, sources everywhere. The world is chaotic. We'll just say that, right? But how you control yourself and your reactions to things is still within your power. And that's where this thermostat piece comes in. So we just worked on grounding exercises, breathwork exercises to calm, and like warming breath and movement to energize. Based on what you need, you got to set your own thermostat. Don't let the forces of the outside world or the external things that you can't control determine what temperature you're at, or in another way, in what ways you move day to day. When you wake up, you get to decide. Things are always going to happen. We have our reactions, but our goal in how we move from stress to ease is also about moving from reactivity to responsivity. How can I respond to this event that's happening right now, or to this bad grade I got that I wasn't expecting, to this conversation I just had with a professor that I didn't really like, to an emergency that happened at home? How can I respond actually thinking about what I want to do, what I need to do, and what's going to be beneficial, rather than just reaction and emotion? It takes time and it takes practice. But the more you practice, the more you get in control of setting that thermostat, instead of just reading the temperature of what's going on around you and reflecting the chaotic world. We want to calm and find centeredness in our inner world. So this little page is just to connect the dots of what you just practiced and learned about in terms of exercises to the realities of what you might be feeling every day. So overwhelmed, not sure what to do, lacking stability. Grounding exercises, which is really scientifically about the sensory activation. High stress, high anxiety, future thinking, feelings of rushing, we turn to breathwork exercises and mindfulness, which scientifically is about slowing down or calming our nervous system and heart rate. And then finally, feeling low or down, lacking energy, possibly sad, feelings of depression, we turn to warming exercises, which is either movement or quick breathing, which is really just about getting stagnant energy out. No more stagnant energy. Activate the blood flow, activate the muscular system, which will send those neurological notes out so that we can respond in a better way. I got 2 questions for y'all really, but you already started answering one of them. So this is going to be how we finish, is just with sharing with each other before we close. 2 questions here. What makes it challenging to handle stress in our lives? Or if you're feeling it hard to actually move the temperature and be that thermostat, I want to know why. Why is it so hard to be a thermostat over a thermometer? Or if this one sounds or feels better to you, what kind of support do you actually need to be the thermostat? Or if you've sought out support before for your mental health, for the stress that you're feeling, what was that experience like? There's a few different directions we can go, but the main point here is that we all experience stress or dips in our mental health in some way, especially in this season of college, internships, work, family, and all those things colliding. So within these questions, if there's one that speaks to you most, I want to know what you've been experiencing or what you think might help, so that we can figure out how do we move forward after this presentation, whether it's me, whether it's one of our growth sector staff or STEM core staff, right? Thinking about the different areas that you can get support. We want to respond to y'all, but the only way we can do that is by knowing what you're actually feeling and what's going on. So again, chat is open. You can unmute and go ahead and speak. If there's somebody already talking, you can raise your hand and we'll get that going. But again, possible questions if you want some guidance. What makes it challenging to handle stress? Or what kind of support do you need? What has the experience been like around support on campus, I should say, or off campus? And how can we support you in improving that mental health and decreasing stress? Anyone can go. It is absolutely open. Yeah, is that Diego? Diego, go for it.
Look, what I find to make it, sorry, I was drinking water.
Sorry, I'm going to pause for 1 second. Cheryl, can we pause the recording so that this can just be free flow for
Sure.
folks? Okay, awesome. That way y'all can be trying some of these exercises with me. I'm excited to continue hopefully seeing in the future what y'all do with these exercises and how it helps you, and just want to encourage you, keep going. Keep going. You got this, and take care of yourself along the way. Because if you're burnt out, nothing's going to come from that. But when you refresh yourself in those little ways, the small ways, it pays off in the end, and you're going to be so much stronger for it. So good luck with everything. If you have more questions, feel free to hit me on Instagram, email me, whatever's your best way to connect. Thanks, y'all.
Thanks so much, everybody. What a great way to end the week. I don't think there's any much more that needs to be said. I will, everybody who registered for today's session, I will be sending out the resources and the recording after this. So just be sure to look out for that. Huge thank you to our host, Lorene, for just another powerful session. For our students, have a great weekend. Thank you for being here, and we will be in contact for our next upcoming session. Have a great one, everybody.
Bye, y'all. Happy Friday.